Hello, everyone. This is DJ McMoyle with the ACG Mental Performance Podcast, where we dive deep into the latest in sports, culture, the stories that define us. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome one of our own ACG ambassadors, Oregon native Sophie French, a professional soccer player with Odense in Denmark. Fantastic person. We'll be talking about her journey, the mindset that led her to the professional level, and what it takes to compete and stay competitive at the top. So let's jump in. Sophie, how are we doing today?
I'm great. Thanks.
You're joining us straight out of Europe, yeah?
Yes.
This is officially ACG going international. We've only recorded 2 of these actually at the time of this recording, but you are our first overseas interview. Doesn't matter that you're American. This is officially ACG going international. So,
Awesome.
where are you guys at in your season? How are things going in Denmark?
So we just wrapped up our season. We had our last game last weekend on Saturday, and the first place team was very obvious, and then the second place and third place were it was really up in the air. So my team was fighting for that, but unfortunately we lost our last 2 games. But it was, for the most part, both of them were very even games, really competitive, and we just didn't get the result we wanted. But so we're done with our season now, and we ended up fifth in the rankings.
Am I right in saying that?
Yes. So my first year in Denmark.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's pretty incredible. We'll have to get into maybe some Danish questions at some point here just to see what the differences are. But yeah, I think where I want to head first, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of giving people listening a chance to know you. Take us back early. When you first fell in love with soccer, where were you growing up? Where did you play? What made this stick for you?
Definitely. So I started playing soccer whenever you could join, the rec team, that your local rec team. And I think I was like 5 or 6, and we had the best coach, and she let us pick our team name with our shirts, and we got to draw little circles on our yellow shirts, and we were the cheetahs. So running fast was obviously something that I loved doing, and then kicking a ball became part of it. Um, but ever since then, I just been playing soccer, obviously, I don't know, almost every single day. And I think having siblings that also played soccer was really helpful growing up. But I also have a twin sister, and that helped me be really, really competitive, because if she was doing something, I wanted to do it, and vice versa. And we always were just trying to one up the other.
Man, so not to potentially accidentally flame her on the podcast, but what's your twin sister doing now?
She's actually also playing professional soccer. She was
Okay,
just
that's
in, yeah, she was just in Australia playing, and now she's looking for her next team.
it's sweet. All right, well, that's
Yeah.
a relief that she made it too, because I
Yeah.
didn't want to accidentally throw her under the. Well, that's
Right.
you get that built-in competitor, and it's no joke.
Yeah.
I mean, you really do. If you both kind of have you're inclined. I know not every twin has to do the same thing, but if you're
hmm
both inclined to it and you can push each other and Um, did you ever find that kind of like the pressure of being stacked up next to each other or trying to play different positions so you had some space or anything like that?
We actually did play different positions when we were younger, and then her and I kind of flipped back and forth as we were getting older, going through the club system. Like, she played forward, I played defender, and then we would switch somehow. I don't know. Our coach realized the other one was better than the other, so then it was always kind of a comparison. But then also, um, just we played different positions, and it wasn't until college that we played against each other that I actually realized I hate playing against her, because I want her to win. I'm her sister, but I'm also I don't want you to win. I want to win. So that competitive nature definitely comes in there. And then it just doesn't work when we go against each other, because I know exactly what kind of moves she does, how she plays, how she's trying to, get rid of a defender kind of thing. And so it doesn't work. We just start to get pulling each other's shirts, and yeah, nobody really wins at that point.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. That's brilliant. So the club scene,
Mhm.
you kind of grew up. I believe you played. Remind me of the clubs you played at. Was it FC Portland? Was at least one of them, right?
Yeah, so I played at FC Portland when I was in high school, and then before that, I played at Eastside FC, which is actually in Washington, because I grew up there, but Pacific Northwest native.
Okay,
And
sure.
then kind of bounced back and forth between Crossfire when we were up there. I do think that moving, like from even from just state to state, that did make it a little bit difficult to find a good, strong, competitive team. We were really lucky that when we moved to Oregon, we found FC Portland, and it was a really high quality program, high quality coaches, and we had a great time there.
Yeah, pretty. I mean, there's actually unbelievable stuff happening in the club scene in the Pacific
Hmm.
Northwest. It's such a good area for soccer. So many good
Absolutely.
players coming out of there. What was your general, club experience, relationship with the coaches, specific challenges that you face? I ask because we have a lot of clients who play club soccer, obviously, and it can be it can be very difficult in terms of the pressure to be recruited and the pressure to even stay on your club's top team. Am I
Totally.
playing ECNLG? All these things that I think people are still coming to grips with in the club scene. From a player's perspective, someone who kind of made it, what was it like for you?
Um, It was definitely difficult. I do think that when I was younger, like even the development years, so before you actually make like a U10 team or something, I had a really great coach, and her name was Nancy Turner, and she set us up to be so successful. And at the time, it was just annoying, like fill out these after practice sheets that said, how hard did you work, or how do you think training went? And at the time, I was like, okay, this feels like homework. Why am I doing this? But I realized like now after games, like I do the same exact thing. So I'm so grateful for her, and she also, instilled in us like healthy eating practices, and we were like 10 or something, so that didn't seem important then. But now I'm like, okay, like I know how to fuel my body properly so that I can be ready for practice, ready for a game, ready for next week's game, whatever. So I think having really good, high quality coaches, that definitely had an impact for me in my club experience. And then besides that, I think when we started trying out for ODP and getting noticed by those kinds of coaches, I think that's when like there was definitely more pressure. But I think I was young enough that at the time I just enjoyed what I was doing. And so it was kind of like a bonus if I, got to go on the Region 4, trip or whatever, or training pool camp or something like that. And it wasn't until I got to those that I was like, okay, there's a lot of really good soccer players here. So yeah, some pressure comes with that. But like I said, I think at that time I was young enough, like 14, that I was like, this is just fun. I love playing soccer, and cool that I get to do different positions or have new coaches. I think that was a really great thing actually, to have different coaches, because every coach has their own, soccer philosophy or way of teaching players. So I thought that was really great. And then getting closer to college, I think that me and my sister, my twin, like we were both trying to find teams to play for, and my parents hadn't ever done uh, or had never done the college recruiting scene. They didn't know how it
Right.
worked, or how to reach out to people, what kind of emails to send, who to call, that kind of stuff. So we were a little bit delayed in our process, which I do think made it a little bit more difficult to find like, the school that fit each of us the way we wanted. And then for me, it was just a matter of finding a school where I thought I could be competitive and be challenged, and, not be the best player on the team. I wanted to be, somewhere in the middle, so that I would have to strive for something more. Um, and I do think that might be why I ended up transferring in college so many times, because I was like, I need to find my place. I need to find where I'm almost struggling, so that I can, continue to get better and be challenged. Yeah.
That's great. So we're recording this somewhat around the time frame of the famous June 15th date when college coaches can reach out to that next class of incoming juniors, meaning
Hmm.
that a lot of, especially on the girls' side, like high level soccer players we're working with have kind of gone through that, like I got the phone call that I wanted, or I didn't get the phone call
Right.
that I wanted, or I had no idea I was supposed to be so organized and ready for this, and now, I
Hmm.
feel like everyone's posting this and I'm not, and I don't it can be I don't know if it's healthy. It's good that it's competitive. I think it's a very tough scene right now.
Yeah.
If we were to grab a soundbite from you on what's your kind of number one recruiting process tip
Mm.
for kind of this generation of up and coming athletes, what do you have for them?
Well, that's tricky, because when I was getting recruited, we didn't have like highlight films and stuff.
Yeah,
So I
that's what I
think,
think too. Like
yeah, the
we
recording of
we
games
got
is like,
college
that's,
coaches like DMing people on Instagram to talk to
yeah.
them about, and it's like I genuinely don't know if Instagram was even around when I was
Right.
like a sophomore in high school. I can't remember. It's yeah, it
Yeah.
is very different.
So I do think that, right now it's important to have film of yourself or to make sure you're getting that from your coaches or your club so that you can show colleges what you can do and like what kind of tools are in your wheelhouse. Um, I think the other thing too is like if you really want to go somewhere and you're having a hard time like getting in touch, you just need to do the cold email, the cold call, like just reach out and um, just be persistent. And oh, okay, I have another one. Another thing too is that school is so important. So make sure that wherever you go, if something terrible were to happen and you couldn't play soccer, make sure that you love where you're going. Like it doesn't have to be perfect, but making sure that like the class size is what you want, the major is what you want. I think that's also really important to keep in mind. I don't know if that's about recruiting, but more just like
No, it
selecting
is. It
a
is
college.
definitely. It is. I think it's so easy to get tunnel vision on like this is the coach that I'll play for, or this is the
Yeah.
division that I want to play in,
Hmm.
or even like the region. And it's like, yeah, but you want to be a kinesiology major, and
Right.
the school doesn't even have it, or
Yeah.
something. Because what did you do? You major in biology? Is that right?
Yes. And my major, like the course of what major I was during school, is very similar to how I transferred several times. I changed my major several times because certain schools, either they had the major I wanted, but my coach said, we don't care for you to do well in school. We just need you to show up to training. So they like would schedule practices at the most inconvenient times for that major. So I would have to switch. And then like at my final school where I, found the right fit, I was like, I don't care. I'm doing biology because that's what I want to do. So yeah, it's hopefully people don't have to do as much trial and error as I did with schools and majors, but I think those are really important to keep a lookout, like the area.
Yeah, why don't you give a little, just a bit of that story, because you had a pretty interesting college journey, not template for sure. So I think it'd be interesting for people to hear that whole kind of college story.
When we started getting recruited for colleges or when we were allowed to, we knew that you had to go to the ID camps, or at the time that's what it was because people couldn't look at your film, so you had to go and show them in person what you had. So we went to a couple, and then my sister and I actually went to the Santa Clara one, and we were really, really lucky in that we had a good weekend. And the coach came up to my dad and said, "Are they going anywhere? We want them." And my dad said, "No," and he said, "Okay, we don't have scholarship, but we want them to come." And so we were like, "All right, we'll make it work." But it's a private school and it didn't end up working out, unfortunately. So at the very last minute, like our senior high school, or the spring of our high school senior year, we had to find a new team to go to, or a
Man,
new college to go to. And so coaches that had seen us play growing up in Washington and through the club system there were the ones that were like able to vouch for us, or say, "Oh, I know a college coach at University of Idaho, and he actually has seen you play before when you were a kid and really likes the way you play and wants you to come for a visit." So I ended up going, my sister did too, but looking at University of Idaho, and then University of Hawaii was the other one. It just ended up that we both picked different ones, and I thought Idaho would give me the best competition, like compared to the other one or something. So I just went there. But then when I got there, the players weren't as committed or dedicated as I wanted the program to look like, and so I needed to change. And then I was like, let's try out the California soccer because growing up we always competed with them in the regional tournaments. It was always Southern California and Washington State that were in the final for the Region 4 state tournament. So I was like, let's go down there and see if the soccer's better. And it's more competitive, and I could do the biology major I wanted. So I went to Cal State Fullerton, and I had a great visit there when I did my official visit. Uh, but when I started like actually going there and doing the school, I realized like the commuter school, which is what it was, wasn't quite for me because there was just a lack of community in the surrounding area and in the classroom because it was just such a big school with so many people. So that's another thing to keep in mind is like classroom size and then like attendance of the college. Um, but I also, like I said, I wasn't able to find community even among my teammates because they also had different priorities or values than I did. And so that's when I realized like, okay, this also isn't a really great fit for me. And this was back when if you transferred twice, I thought that I would like be done. Like no coach is going to want someone who transfers twice. But my parents were living in Portland at this time, and I went back home to take me because of like the NCAA rules. But I would love to be a practice player for you in the spring if you need numbers. I know you guys graduated a lot of seniors. and they were really cool. And they also knew me growing up and playing in the Washington State uh, club system, and so they said, "Why don't you come out and do a like a tryout, essentially?" So I guess like I think that's considered like a walk on, right? Like people are always used to be really taboo to be a walk on, but I was like,
Yeah,
you know what,
sure.
it worked for me, and I had a really great time, and I got to play with some people I had grown up playing soccer with, so that was really really cool.
Yeah, it's a sweet kind of full circle ending to that.
Totally.
Um, yeah, I forgot you went to Cal State Fullerton. I don't know if we talked about that when we
Oh
met.
yeah.
Um, I used to live in Huntington Beach, California. Me,
Oh
me
no
and my
way.
family lived there for a little bit,
Nice.
which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
We
Beautiful.
left for a number of reasons, but there's this unbelievable place called Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles, like 10 or 15 minutes from Cal State's. Have you ever been there?
Isn't it close to?
It's like down the road from Disney
I
in
was gonna
Anaheim.
say, or is there like a? I feel like I think I've been there, and if not that one, then I've been to one that's in LA because I think there's another one.
Yeah, yeah. It's the one that I went to is by the convention center in Anaheim, like down the
Oh
road from
yeah,
Disney
okay. So I
on
went to a
one.
concert there. That checks out.
Listen, if anyone listening for any reason lives within 30 minutes of Anaheim, California, and you haven't eaten at Roscoe, it's unbelievable.
It's really
Um,
good.
it's unbelievable. I mean, it's so good. And we moved back to the Midwest, and I've probably
Mm.
never found anything that replicates it here. So, and I'm sure they don't have chicken and waffles house in Denmark, but maybe,
No, definitely
maybe,
not.
yeah. Well, that's sweet. I mean, so you got a pretty kind of big view of what that whole transfer process can look like, or switching schools and finding your fit. You get out of college. I'm trying to remember your exact timeline. I think when did you kind of sign your first pro contract?
In the summer of 2022, or I guess
Yeah.
a fall, sort of.
Okay. So walk. I guess that's kind of the next step. So tell us a little bit
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah, so I think going out of college, I didn't know what options were to play afterwards. I had some friends, like very few though, who had gone on and played in Sweden, or like one friend who went and played in Germany, and I didn't hear super good experiences about their super good things about their experiences. So I kind of just wrote that off as like that's probably not something I want to do. But then I knew that the NWSL was so competitive and like very hard to get into, very exclusive in that way. So I was like, all right, I'll play on summer soccer teams and like kind of continue to get my touches in, keep my fitness up, and then also get film. And so I was playing on like a WPSL team and in Oregon. And I think one of the things that I don't know everyone should work on is like just like trying to network in a way with soccer.
Yeah.
But like also when you do that, you have to like express what your like goals are and your motivations. And it wasn't until I told my WPSL coach, I said, I want to play like professionally. Like I want to get to the next level. He said, oh, I had no idea. Like
Mm.
let me see what I can do. Like he said, you're good. You can go play somewhere else. And I said, okay, that's great. And so then we were able to get in touch with the Thorns on, to be a national team replacement player while the national team players were gone. They bring in extra players to fill like the roster for training or to roster for the games that they don't have enough players. And so I was really lucky that, I was able to like have enough confidence to like put myself out there and say, this is what I want. And like fully knowing that it might not pan out. Like I might not get to play at the next level, but then just like expressing that to people who have my interests in mind and care about my progress and things like that. um, so then yeah, I that was in the summer of 2022. I think it was July, and then my contract was short, but after the contract was up, the head coach at the time of the Thorns said, we want you to stay on and train with us. So that was a really really unique and very cool experience because not only did I get to play like for and with the Thorns, but then when the national team players came back, I also got to play with them.
Man.
And that was so surreal. I mean, I'm sure you can think of like a bunch. I don't want to like name drop or anything, but there were just like some of my role models growing up. Like I've always looked up to Crystal Dunn. I think since the 2019 World Cup, and even before that, like she at the time was like a defender. I don't think she's a defender anymore, But I just remember she had the sickest slide tackle, and I was just like, she is so strong and just so confident and just such an amazing, humble player. And it was so fun to watch. But then I was like, okay, but now I'm in the locker room with her, like, be cool. Um, so that was really cool to be able to play alongside just soccer players, soccer playing women that I looked up to as a kid and look up to even more now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big shift. You go from, uh, I mean, it almost makes college feel like a kick around, and now it's like, I mean, that's an enormous. What do you think mentally was the biggest shift that you needed to make from going from college to pro?
Um, I don't know how to word this the best way, but I think when you're in college, it's very much like everyone is on the same page, team oriented. Like, the culture is laid out for you, and you have to buy in. Whereas I think and there's nothing wrong with this, I just think when you're on a professional team, you get to decide what culture you bring to what do you bring to the team culture? What do you bring? And like, how are you going to hold yourself in a professional manner? Like, think of like a job. That's what I'm thinking. Like, it's very different. It's like you bring your attributes to the table, and no one's going to tell you what to do or how to do it. You have to not like figure it out for yourself, but you have to like be confident enough um, to play your role and to know why you're there and what you're doing. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think, like I said, no one's going to tell you, how you should behave outside of the professional team. Whereas in college, it was like, we had our 24 or 48-hour rule about drinking and things like that. And they would tell you, like, make sure you get this GPA. And it was like, so we're holding you to standards. Now it's like you have to hold yourself to those standards, high standards. And if you don't, like, it will be very obvious. Like, you'll fall behind, or if you don't get enough sleep one night, then it'll show at practice because you'll be tired or lethargic or just slow reaction, that kind of thing. I don't know if that made a lot of sense.
No, it does. It does. I mean, you're saying the responsibility is yours to be professional, and the consequences for not doing it are potentially you're no longer a professional because
Yeah.
you'll fall off the pace. I think that's
Hmm.
significant. I mean, how do you think, if you knew that when you were a senior in high school, for example, like,
Hmm.
how do you think would that have changed anything about how you just approached the preparation of your game? Or I don't know, like, how do you make sure that you're ready for when that moment hits and you have to have it right there?
I think when I was a senior in high school, I would have watched more professional soccer because I think that's one of the best ways to learn and to absorb just like soccer habits and watch actual like pick a player on a team and watch them the whole game and look at their behaviors. How many times are they checking their shoulder? How many times um, do they give a pass away? Do they not connect a pass? Like, how many times do they get their head up before they shoot it, or do they just stare down at the ground? Just like learning in that way. And then I think um, not just watching like soccer from the US, but also watching like Champions League and English Premier League, or I don't know, any kind of soccer, because there's so many different styles of soccer, and I think that is a really great tool that you can use, and it's just like free knowledge right there for you to learn about soccer. So I would have done that for sure, and then if there was something that I saw that I liked, or I said this would work for my position, I would then, if I was a senior in high school, I wish I would have then said, "Ooh, I like the way that is it Holland, the guy, right? I'm like, I like the way he shoots. I'm gonna go out and try to replicate it, or like do reps one after the other, and try to simulate something very similar, or see if I can use that in my game and add that to my tool chest and just like some of my attributes or something."
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, so and this is not to be like an old guy hating on the next generation or anything. Even I feel like every other thing I say sounds like that sometimes because I'm into my 30s now. But we will run team sessions with like good high level soccer players,
Hmm.
really good, some of the best players in the country, even at times. And I will try to use an example, an illustration. Did you watch this game? Even the Champions League final, for which you just assume that people watch. I mean, I would
Yeah.
just imagine that people watch it. And that with high level girls teams, NWSL, anything,
Hmm.
and the amount of crickets that I hear on the it's not just soccer either. We're working with an
Yeah.
AAU team, and I'll be like, "Who's watching the NBA finals? The NBA finals?" And I've
Yeah.
got like 3 out of 16 kids watching the NBA finals. And it's really strange And maybe, part of it is just like kids are busy and
Hmm.
that's no problem. But I agree. One of the things, for me, I watched a lot of soccer, but I was just like, just watching it to watch it. I don't think I was that
Yeah.
in tune with what was happening. The difference that I made when I started my coaching career versus playing was I was like, I need way more pictures of what could be possible for this in my
Mm,
head, and I need them at every level possible. So I was
yeah.
like, I got into a deep, deep rabbit hole at one point in my coaching career where I was probably watching like 20 to 25 hours of soccer per
Whoa.
week. Just yeah, whoa is right, because yeah, it's a little depressing, but I was really locked into to analyzing it. I was looking on YouTube for like U15 games because that's what I was coaching.
Hmm.
Like like what does the Real Madrid U15 team look like
Yeah.
compared to the St. Michael Albertville boys that I'm working? It's like playing a completely different sport almost, but it's so big. I mean, this
Hmm.
transfer of the ideas that you see in your head versus what the average athlete is capable of just inventing in the moment. It's like players underestimate pattern recognition. They underestimate how much it helps just to say, like, soccer is a very complex and fluid game, but there's only so much that can actually happen in it. Like, typically this pass will happen in this time when the ball's in the corner. This is what's going to happen. And I don't think they understand how much less professional players are guessing in moments of the game versus anticipating and knowing this is a pattern I've memorized and typically this is what I can expect to see. Wouldn't you agree? Like that has to be something you've noticed change in yourself since your youth career.
Oh yeah, totally. And something else that you said that just like struck a chord with me was like I think youth athletes like don't know like what they're like you said what they're capable of until they see it and they're like, "Oh, that's possible. Let me go try." And I think that was something that I realized, at every level because I had coaches telling me, "You should watch more soccer." My mom would always say, "You guys should sit down and watch soccer." And we were like, "Oh, we have homework." But it's like you only have like tunnel vision of that's your limitations of what you think you can do in a soccer game, what you think you should do in a soccer game. Also, I think that as you get older, like you fall into going through the motions. And when you realize that there's so much more, and that's why I kept saying like different tools because it's just like different scenarios, different behaviors, different touches, different moves, different, turning your hips instead of like just standing still and receiving it or something like that. So I think something is there's just something about like being limited in your mindset and then watching soccer and seeing other people do it differently or yeah, then that just gives you like so many more ideas, so many more variations, and then, ways for you to practice. And it is like homework,
Yeah,
but soccer homework, like, I want more of that.
for sure. Like, let me not I mean, like you said, school is important, so let me be careful what I say, but let me get way more of that than algebra 2. Like I'm trying
Right?
to
Yeah.
and indeed I think even just unveiling what's possible, like you said, actually one of the moments that flipped for me in my short playing career was I was a goalkeeper, so
Mm,
there's really nothing that creative to do. Like the less creative you are, the better typically.
right.
People start to panic if you get too tricky, but I had placed kind of this subconscious limitation on myself. I'm 6'1", and for a goalie in the men's level, that's like it's okay, but it's not great. It's not.
Mm,
You're probably in my head. I'm not making it pro because I'm 6'1". I have some ability, but it's just like this is my ceiling and this is where I'm at.
mm,
And that I think that manifested in how I played. I played small a little bit. Um, I played pretty safe. And then one of the older guys on my college team told me, he's like, what you need to do? Start watching. He sent me this YouTube compilation of Iker Casillas, the former Real Madrid goalie, who is also
mhm,
6'1", 6'1" goalkeeper, one of the best in history, playing for Real Madrid. And he's like, dude, just watch this. It's like 10 and a half minutes. Watch it on every bus trip. Watch it before every practice. Watch it
mm,
before every game. Because he's like, the stuff that he's doing is insane. And you don't have to do it like him. But, basically what he's saying is like, what you need to see is that this is possible and that you
mhm,
can do a lot more than you think you can. And I never got to work with a mental performance coach as a player, but that piece of advice from him it taught me visualization essentially because I'm picturing myself doing what
Right.
he's doing, but it completely changed my confidence just intrinsically, like through watching someone else who plays at a world class level that I'll never get near to touching. But just because he could do it, it made me
Mhm.
think, what am I think like why couldn't I?
Right.
And there were answers to that question, but it did change when when you're 19 and 20 years old, you know, with the right mindset, you're basically invincible.
Yeah.
So that's tough. Then when it crumbled for me, and this goes into my next question for you, when it crumbles for me was I had a trial with a professional team in the United States, and the goalie that I was trialing with was this 6'5" kid from Loyola, and all that belief that I had built up. I was an All American in college. All this stuff I had built up, it literally just falls apart at the trial just because I'm standing next to this guy, and I'm like, if they're taking one of the two of us,
Mhm.
it's gonna be him. And so I phoned it in. I lasted 10 days there. It was over, and I kinda called that. I didn't try to play PDL, anything that existed at the time. I stopped playing and started coaching. But my question for you is, you go from playing at a really good college level, and yet it doesn't obviously compare to the challenges of, like, suddenly we're on the field with national team players or professionally contracted players in the United States. And what does it teach you about confidence? What does it teach you about yourself and how you view yourself? Like, how would you say your confidence has evolved over the last two or 3 years compared to being a Division 1 athlete?
I think one of the first thing that comes to mind is, oh, I just lost it. Something about, I think, not comparing yourself to others. Obvious, that's an obvious one, right? I mean, people always say comparison is the thief of joy. But I think, like you said, when you focus on maybe something that you don't have in your toolbox or in your skill set, like that is basically like you telling yourself. So then we're going into self-talk. That's where I was going to go with this. Self-talk is like you're then telling yourself that you aren't good enough or that they're better, but you then forget and leave out all of the great skills that you have, and you're choosing at that point to not, like, basically hype yourself up. And so I think self-talk has been like a really big area for me to work on, and I'm sure everybody else at any stage in through club, college to professional, is just like making sure that you practice self-talk, like positive self-talk, because it's not just gonna, like, I can all of a sudden really be my biggest cheerleader. I think you have to work at that. And I think that, like I said, it's about you hyping yourself up or saying, what skills you have. And it's not like you're not trying to, like, say that you're really great at shooting when you're obviously not. It's like you're trying to find, what parts of you and your game can add to the team. Like, it's a team sport after all, if we're talking about soccer, right? So it's like, how can you help your team best? And by you showing up small, or you showing up and not, and saying, oh well, so and so's better than me because of XYZ, it's like you're then becoming that, like, uh broken link in the chain, right? And so you need to make sure that you're showing up big, you're talking to yourself positively, and you're practicing that. Because I think for me, if I hadn't practiced that, like, for however long I've been playing soccer, then, like, my confidence or my mental strength wouldn't be where it is right now.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. You kind of need this, like, foundation to draw on of, like, yeah, she's really good, right? We can acknowledge that. But I'm here. Like, I have this too. I'm working with a young runner. She's in 8th grade going into ninth grade, I believe. Might even be 7th going into 8th, I can't remember. But either way, she runs a 4:57 mile
Whoa.
as like a 13-year-old or something, like, which is I need a good day to bike that. Like,
Yeah.
she's that's insane stuff. And so she got to run this sick meet a few weeks ago, and we were just kind of dealing with, she wasn't feeling like really down about herself, but she was like, I
Hmm.
just really want to do well.
Yeah.
Pretty much the best runners in the country my age are going to be there, and
Mhm.
she's telling me the times. Like there's this girl showing up who's running a 4:48. There's numbers being spit out about these kids. I can't believe that they're doing this kind of stuff. It's crazy. Um, but so we just did this little self-talk exercise of like we can acknowledge that they're good. It's easy in track, right? The numbers are
Mhm.
right there. So
Right.
there's no question. They're really good. But your numbers are there too. And so the self-talk exercise that she used going into the meet was they have to run against me today. And
Mm.
just kind of flip it is because she was catching herself like I have to run against them. It's
Right.
like, yeah, they have to run against you too. And that's a problem for them. And I think this is really common, especially in younger athletes. Like basketball players look across the court and they see this gigantic team, and suddenly they're like, "Oh, we have to play." But yeah, but
Mhm.
you're on the court with them, which means that you
Right.
belong, and they have to play against you. And so I really like that approach. I really like that of like, yes, especially if you're in an environment where you get to compare yourself to really great players, that can be a
Mhm.
challenge. But I think the other thing that it does is it tells the story of how much you've done to get there. I like how many players get to play as a national team replacement player? How many players get to play professionally in Europe? It's a really, really small percentage. And so the thing that you can be reinforcing in your head is like, yeah, I got here too. I'm on the field with her. I'm on the
Totally.
field against her. And that says something about my story and how far
Mhm.
I've come. So,
Totally.
it's really, really excellent.
Yeah. I
Really
also
excellent.
think, like you said about how someone showed you a video of like an excellent goalkeeper and that really like sparked some confidence and then just also like some other possibilities in your mind about your game because everyone is doing the highlight thing and making their highlights. Like, there's nothing wrong with you going back and watching your own highlight and being like, oh yeah, I did that. And I think that ties into just how you were like saying, like, remember that you've done a lot to get to where you are now. So, and sometimes I know that sounds a little bit vain because you're like, let me go watch all of my best hits. But it's like, if you're feeling down, if I'm feeling down before a game and I'm thinking like, oh, like I didn't get to start this game or something like that. And then I start to do the comparison game between me and the girl who got to start in my position. I forget about all those things that I've done up until this point, and I forget like that I'm here. I'm playing professional soccer in Denmark. Like how lucky am I? Um, and I think going back and looking at that is, like you said, just a way to boost confidence and have like better perspective. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I actually don't think it's vain. I think it's again, there's evidence to it. It's backed up. It's on film, right? All this kind of stuff. I have a friend who works as a like a mixer, a music mixer for
Mm,
professional artists, and he told me this guy walked into his studio once and pulled his headphones out and he was listening to his own song, and they kind of like made fun of him for it. He's like, "Oh, you just walk around listening to your own music?" And the guy, like right before the guy goes into the studio, he goes, "Listen, man, if 25 million other people can listen to it and say it's good, then so can I." And he just puts his headphones in and walks into the studio. It's like, yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I think
nice.
there's some evidence to say, yeah, you could probably enjoy it. It's probably good. And when you have that highlight reel as an athlete, I think you lean on it. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
these are the good things I've done. This is what I'm capable
Right.
of. Why not?
Totally.
Right? Don't phone
Right.
that in.
Yeah.
I have a couple rapid fire Denmark questions for you.
Okay.
And then I have one more just question about your career before we wrap
Okay.
up this conversation. Um, but I gotta know a couple of things. So for you, coming out of the United States, landing in Denmark, have you developed like a go-to Danish food or snack yet?
Yeah, they love open sandwiches. So it's just like a regular sandwich, but you just don't put the top layer of bread on. And in Denmark, it's usually like, cream cheese and smoked salmon or like avocado. So it
Mm,
could be like avocado toast essentially. But one of theirs that is yummy is it has like the tiny little shrimp on top with, like some kind of mayonnaise or they use creme fraiche or something like that. But it's just on one piece of bread and you just eat it like that. So,
that sounds pretty decent, pretty
mhm.
fresh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you picked up any Danish yet?
Oh, yeah. Everyone always asks this. Yeah. So I know the basics. Like for hello, they say hi, and they do it like with a little hi, like kind of like
Yeah.
that. To say goodbye, you can say hi hi. So it's really funny when I hear people on the phone saying hi, hi, and then they hang up. I'm like, you just said hello and then hung up.
Yeah,
But that's how they do it. And then thank you is talk, just like the way we would say I'm talking to someone, but they say tak. Oh, I don't know. In the grocery store, I can figure out what things are just based on
sure.
going and seeing them over and over again. So
Yeah,
context really helps with that, I think. Um, yeah.
yeah. No, that's for sure. I think I'd be cooked in any. I know it's not like a fully tonal language, but I'm so monotone when I talk. I feel like I couldn't even get that high out the right way. They'd be like, "This guy's unbelievably American. Just cut it out. Just say hello or whatever. Just
Right.
keep it
Yeah.
simple." Is there anything you feel like you've kind of fully like embraced or integrated into your life from Danish culture that surprises you? Like, are you
Cult.
biking everywhere
Oh,
suddenly or
of
anything like that?
course. My commute is a 2 mile bike ride to the facility, and it's
Yeah,
lovely. And in the winter months, it was not quite as lovely, but yes, I do bike everywhere I go. The other one I was going to say is cold plunging. That's like a really big Scandinavian thing. But so we go to the pool that's not heated, and it wasn't even heated in the winter either. So, like, the pool was very, very cold. And then you dip into the pool, and then you go into the sauna, and then you dip in the pool, and you go back and forth for like contrast therapy. And at first it was unbearable, and I was like, this is not even enjoyable. Like, I'd go with friends, and they'd be like, it's fine. And I was like, no, it's not. We're not having fun. And then now I'm like, if I don't go do that after practice or like when, on the weekends or something, I'm like, what am I missing in my life? Like, that feels really good on my body to do. So, yeah, definitely the cold plunge and the sauna.
that's awesome. What
Yeah.
do you think if you could teleport one thing from the United States to Denmark right now? What are we talking about? What are we bringing over?
Okay, well, I really enjoy food.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
probably Chipotle.
They don't have any Chipotle over there?
No, and they really don't have a like Mexican food theme, and they try really, really hard, but it's just not quite the right spices. It's good, it's tasty food, but I wouldn't consider it like Mexican food.
Yeah. No, I guess that's really in no way surprising.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure a little Chipotle would hit. So
Oh yeah.
that's
Mm-hmm.
that's probably a good shout. The last one, is it true? This is like one of the few things I know about, or I think I know about Denmark. Is it true that Danes are obsessed with licorice?
Yeah. There's licorice candy everywhere,
What
and
is this? What's the inside scoop on this licorice thing?
I don't know. Maybe they think it's like healthy or something. Is
Yeah,
it? I don't know. But
I don't know.
and it's not just licorice, it's like black licorice. So I don't know, not like red vines, it's like the black licorice and all different kinds of candy, like different shapes, different colors, but they'll be licorice flavored. And I have not been able to get on board. One time I went to the store and accidentally bought like cold brew that was licorice flavor, and I was able to drink it
Oh,
because like you could barely taste the licorice, but that's my extent of embracing the black licorice flavored things in Denmark.
I think that's an important moment for someone in the production process to ask, like, just because it's possible, does that mean it's
Right.
necessary?
Exactly. For sure.
Uh, yeah, yeah. Well, that's yeah. So confirmed, but very, very I feel like that's going to require a little more digging now because that's a licorice tainted cold brew is deeper waters than I even thought
Yeah.
we were in over there. So, all right, interesting. Interesting. Ooh, one more thing.
Mhm.
You've worked with one of our mental performance coaches
Yeah.
for it's been a bit now, right? I mean, you and I first talked how 4 or 5 months ago, probably now. It was I don't even know. Time's kind of
I
flying
don't
by,
know.
but
It doesn't feel like that long, but maybe.
no, maybe yeah, maybe it wasn't, but anyway, that kind of obviously creates some tangible skill, but mental
Hmm.
mental performance is just something you have to think about as an athlete anyway, especially to make it A at the professional level at all, and B to survive in another culture, another country, away from your family.
Hmm.
Um, always playing for a contract. Again, when it's your livelihood, it's just so different. And I think something that's interesting to reflect on is if you could become your mental performance coach, but 5 years ago. So you
Mhm.
right now are coaching the version of yourself from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
What would be what would be the message? What would be the main pieces
Mm.
of advice that you would give that version of yourself from 5 years back?
Ooh, that's tough.
Because 5 years ago, you were playing what? Maybe
College, like
college
at
somewhere. I was trying to figure out where. It was
University of
yeah.
Portland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Portland by then, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think at that stage, I would probably have said, make sure you're going back and watching your game film so that you can learn from it. Um, and then I think going off of that would be, you know, I can be really, really critical and really hard on myself when I do that. And so then that's turned out to be like a not so fun experience, like to this day, to watch back film and be really critical and be like, oh, why didn't I do that instead of doing this? And I think then I would tell my past self, like, don't hold anything when you watch it. Like, just watch it like you're, a spectator and it's some random player that you're watching, and you know, just try to learn from it, and don't be so critical. And it's good to be critical so that you can learn, but not to the point where it is like harming your mental strength or your confidence. So I think I would probably tell myself to practice that a little bit more, um, in addition to watching that film, because watching the film is so important, especially of yourself, so you can learn and get better.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So for everyone listening, Sophie's talking about this idea called cognitive diffusion, which is essentially where you kind of separate your thoughts from your identity. Meaning, what she's saying is, can you watch the game and be critical of yourself in a way that helps you perform better without making yourself feel horrible about
Mm-hmm.
who you are and how you play. And I think that's a big challenge for youth players because especially at the elite level, you invest so much time into this,
Mm-hmm.
and you really have to put so much of yourself and your identity into your sport if you're going to make it to the very top level. And what comes with that is this fusion of sport and self, which is
Mm-hmm.
actually not ideal, obviously, and it's not that helpful for performance. So the skill and the strategy is, how do we separate? I'm watching myself, but I'm going to put myself in the role of coach and not player as I watch. Or I'm going to pay attention to the thoughts that I'm having about myself, and I'm going to notice the ones that are helpful and the ones that are unhelpful. And I'm going to try to let that second category drift away as I watch. I'm going to try to interpret it as information and just have this. There's a lot of ways that you can do it, but I do think it's really important because we've even worked with athletes who will not watch themselves on film because they can't do that process. They become so critical, um, which is understandable. But then, like you're saying, you're missing this huge competitive edge of, I never got to watch myself play until college because people weren't filming. Now stinging dads are pulling up to U10 games with a whole VO, and
Yeah.
it's like, you watch yourself play all the time for better or for
Yeah.
worse. So yeah, you do. I think you do have to learn how to separate that and the
Mm-hmm.
emotion that comes with it, but
Yeah.
take advantage of the technology and the
Totally.
opportunity. So
Yeah,
so
and
that's great.
I think also on that point, I think yes, we have it, access to the technology, and you can actually go and watch other people, which means that other people are watching themselves play, and so that will make it easier to compare yourself to, like all these famous Champions League players that are scoring 100 goals or doing like crazy volleys, or whatever. And so I think the other thing too is to just like know that those are the best of the best players, and if you can't do that right now, that doesn't mean it's not possible, but also you don't need to compare yourself and say I can't do that, therefore I am not, that good, or I'm worse than so and so or something. So I think, yeah, same thing is like separating yourself from all the hype about, scoring goals or is the best thing you can do. Okay, well there's also, 10 other positions on the field that need filled. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, yeah, got a little bit of like a, if I put on cut socks and do a step over, then I should be an all-star player
Right.
thing going on right now. But just work the progress, work the
Yeah,
process, be patient.
definitely.
Um, if I think if you work really hard, you have a good chance of finding your ceiling. And if you're lucky, it's at this top level. But if you're really smart and you're really fortunate, then it's just finding meaning wherever you do end up. And
True.
I think that's what I would have told myself is enjoy this more and forget
Mm,
about what you're not capable of or what you might not accomplish in the game. You only get to be on a team for so much of your life, and there's nothing like it. You only get to play your sport for so much of your life, and there's nothing like it. So find that joy consistently, no matter what, is what I would have told myself. So what's next, Sophie? What's coming up? Any final messages for the listeners? You get a little off season.
yeah, so I'll have a little break here. I guess it's technically like the summer transfer window. And so I'm looking for a new team to play for, and that might be in the US, it might be in Canada, it might be back abroad, anywhere in Europe. I'm open, but I'm excited to get going and join another team. And then a message for listeners. I liked what you said about enjoying it. I think, we put so much pressure on ourselves and on each other. And, whether that comes from you or from the outside, it's good to have some pressure, but not to the point where it's detrimental.
Everyone, thanks for listening to the ACG Mental Performance Podcast. If you found the conversation helpful, share it with someone who could use it. Don't forget to subscribe yourself so you don't miss an episode. And for more on ACG Mental Performance and how we help athletes build confidence, focus, and resilience, check us out at acgmentalperformance.com. Sophie, thank you very much for the conversation. And everyone listening, we'll see you next time.